Hello, welcome to our webinar, Combat Summer Learning Loss, Enhance Summer Learning Opportunities with Resources for Reading and Math from MetaMetrics. Before we begin, I'd like to go over a few logistics. If you have any technical difficulties, please call that number you see there on your slide. And if you have any questions, please submit those to the Q&A moderator. You can see that on the right-hand side of your page from the drop-down. And please remember when submitting your question to include your full name and organization. If we don't get to your question today, we're going to send a follow-up email with a recording, a PowerPoint, and we will respond to your question personally. Thank you. Now I'd like to pass it on to our moderator, Chris Minnick, who is the Executive Director of the CCSSO. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thanks for being on today, and I appreciate June and Malbert for joining us today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this program at CCSSO and what we've been doing to advance the idea that during the summer our students need to continue to be working, and the loss of knowledge and skills that takes place during the summer is something that all states I know care about and are working on. So I'll go ahead and advance the slide here. You get to show June and Malbert's pictures. That's good, so you know who's talking to you. I want to talk for a second. Keep going to the very first slide. Thanks. Talk for a second about the agenda today, and then we'll dig right in. First, we're going to talk a little bit about the history, the context, who's done the program with us at CCSSO in the past, and how it started. And then Malbert's going to share with us some of the research that actually backs the play here that we need to care deeply about what's going on in the summer with our students. June's then going to talk a little bit about what North Carolina did around this initiative, and then there will be some time for questions if there are any at the end. Go ahead and go forward. Thanks. So I talk for a second about how we got started. Next slide, please. In 2011, the Council of Chief State School Officers, which I lead, and MetaMetrics, which Malbert leads, talked to our chiefs about the challenges that students were having during the summer, and especially low-income and minority students just didn't have access to good reading materials at that time. And it started with a reading initiative. So in November of 2007, on the next slide, it talks about Jean Wilhoit, who was the executive director, and June Atkinson, who was and still is the North Carolina superintendent, put a call to action on the table. And it was a challenge to see how many states could participate and move forward on helping students read during the summer. And that was the idea behind this program. So what happened is MetaMetrics for free stepped up and put together a Find a Book tool that could be branded by the state or branded in any way that the state was interested in. So it really was the state's tool that helped students find books that were at their reading level. So it did use the Lexile framework to help them do that. And students were then more aligned with the type of reading that they needed to do during the summer. So we did that for 2 years and felt like this was good work. And I just want to add also, we have states that are doing this outside of this challenge as well. So a state like Montana has really stepped up and is doing a lot around summer reading and summer loss. They're just not doing it through this program. So quite frankly, as an organization, we don't really care how it gets done. We just think this is a real problem that needs to be taken on. So then in 2013, we added the mathematics to the Summer Learning Challenge. And so these are activities and mathematics based on their grade level standards that help students continue to have a mathematics experience during the summer, given that we had had such success in the English language arts area. So let's talk a little bit about the participation of it. We have, as of last summer, 22 states participating in the reading challenge. It's 6 at the beginning in the very first year, so we've had good growth in that, and you'll see the states on the list here that are formally in this through MetaMetrics. And as I told you earlier, there's many more states that are taking this on in their own way and participating with us in that. So, and then the next slide is just the mathematics numbers. Since it's only been 2 summers, we've had 14 and 12 states in the years that we've been doing this, and we look forward to more growth. You'll note at the bottom of that slide, all 50 states on the website have had participants, even if a state hadn't formally participated in the program. So again, all of this is free. There is there's no cost to participate in either of these programs. It's just a matter of getting the word out and having the state help get that word out to the districts so that we can get kids reading and doing mathematics during the summer. So I think it's a really good thing that we started doing 4 years ago and hope to continue to increase the participation. So I just have 2 more slides. I'll talk a little bit about what the results we've seen. And it's been interesting. Some states have done governors or first ladies promoting this, and that obviously raises the visibility of it. There's lots of news about it. 2.5 million students, parents and educators have visited the website, and again, no cost to the state, but we're really just trying to get students to read and do math during the summer. And I think we have a very, very ambitious goal of trying to make sure that every state participates in some way, whether it be through this program or getting their students to read and do math during the summer. So that's that's the next slide here, our goal. And with that, I will turn it over to Malbert Smith, who's the president of MetaMetrics, to talk a little about the research that backs our play in this area. So Malbert, go ahead.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for everyone being on the call today. I'm going to start with this graph, which gives a great visual display of the phenomenon of summer loss. Depending on which reading or which researcher you read, there are 3 terms that are used interchangeably: summer loss, summer fade, and summer slide. But they all refer to the phenomenon that over the summer we lose ground in reading with our free and reduced lunch kids. So I want to show you this graph, and there are 4 points I wanted to punctuate on this graph. What you can see is that on the x-axis is the grade levels, kindergarten through 4th grade, and then on the y-axis is reading achievement. And then there are 2 lines there. There's our free and reduced lunch kids, and then above that are kids that are not on free and reduced lunch. And the first point I would make is that you see that our free and reduced lunch kids, when they show up for school, they already start behind. Not only is there poverty of income, but a poverty of words that's been well documented by researchers such as Hart and Risley. But then the second point that we really should shout out in public education is, if you'll notice, that during the school year, we get the free and reduced lunch kids growing on a parallel track, that is growing just as fast as we get the kids that are not free and reduced while they're in school. And in fact, many states have done a great job at reducing that gap or minimizing it. North Carolina in particular, the achievement gaps have gotten lower and lower each year, which has been great. The third point I would make is that what you see is that in the summer, every time while there's our free and reduced lunch kids, they are going to what I call text-free zones, no books, no magazines, and so they slide every summer. And so we get them growing during the school year, and then they go home during the summer, again to these text-free zones, no books, no magazines. And so unlike our kids, they don't experience those gains. And then the 4th point I would make is if you take that contiguous summers and you look at them, what started as an initial gap has actually gotten wider over the through the 4th grade. So even though we're doing these remarkable things during the school year and we're getting all kids growing, so much of the learning that takes place outside of the school, these kids are disadvantaged, they're not as resourced. And so, in fact, there's now researchers at Hopkins that are arguing that 2/3
of the achievement gap can be explained by these 12 contiguous summers where we turn off the educational spigot. Well, that's the reality of this summer loss and summer slide. But there's some good news here. And I think this is low-hanging fruit because, as I said, we're doing so much during the school year, but if we could just do something to minimize this summer loss, we could go a long way to making sure every kid graduates college and career ready, and also eliminate the achievement gap. And what we built, if you'll turn to the next slide, slide 17, is we built a free resource. And we stood on the shoulders. Some of the best research in the country is being done by a Harvard professor named Jimmy Kim. And what he found is that if we could get free and reduced lunch kids to read over the summer, on average, I'm going to do a kind of a meta-analysis here at this point, around 5 books over the summer that they're interested in, and this is hugely important. We have to match, this is kids during their free time, and it needs to be matched on interest, what the student wants to read. And secondly, once we know what they're interested in, trying to match for the reading ability and the difficulty of the book. That is, trying to make sure it's ability-based, that if it's too easy, they're not being exposed to new vocabulary, new syntactic structure. If it's too hard, students get frustrated. It's their free time, and they may not continue to read. So based on that, we built a free resource called Find a Book, and currently it sits on about 22, 23 State Department websites, where a student can go on, or a parent, and they can plug in their Lexile measure. If you're a state that doesn't report out Lexiles, or you don't, or a parent didn't remember their Lexiles, we didn't want that to be a showstopper. So we simply ask on the right-hand side, I don't know my Lexile measure. You just there's a pull-down menu. You plug in what grade you're in. So you could be a 4th grader or 7th grader. And then you answer a simple question. Do I find books at my school difficult, easy, or just right? Because we have enough information over the years on test performance that if you tell me you're a 4th grader and you're struggling with 4th grade text, we can guesstimate where we think your reading ability is well enough to match you to books over the summer. So once you do that, then you go to the next screen, and you can see these interest genres. And if you click on any of these, they explode into more categories. So there are hundreds, literally, of interest categories. And as the student selects different interest categories, then we search for books that are their reading level that they've expressed an interest in. And so you can see an example here of some books that we just picked here for this display. And then one of the really nice features of this Find a Book, if you're in the major states with large urban concentrations, we've hooked it to a library resource from Follett that allows you to connect to the public library. So it will point the child or the parent to the closest public library from where they're sitting, and you can actually see if the books is available before you even go to the library. So this is a free resource, and it's readily available. And let me go to page number 20 here. What we've also built, because we wanted to make this as easy as possible, we built all of the marketing collateral, the letters that the superintendent can send home to the parents. We've built flyers for librarians and for parents and educators. We've built web banners, bookmarks. We've built certificates of participation. So all the collateral that you might need. In fact, 2 years ago, I think at a CCSSO meeting, we gave to every chief a thumb drive that had everything in it that they could give to their communications or their librarian or the state librarian for this to take place. And so all of that is built for you, and we've also translated it into several languages. So for example, if you want it in Spanish, we have it in Spanish as well. And we have great resources. And this, I want to make a point here. This has been a very collaborative effort with our state departments. We've worked a lot with North Carolina, but we've also worked with Hawaii and Kentucky. I'd have to do, I don't know if anybody from Kentucky is on, but Kathy Mansfield from Kentucky. We did a library piece with them. We've actually done public TV with different state departments. We've done talk shows. We've done almost everything you can imagine to help promote this, because it needs to be promoted every summer. It's not one and done, because we need to have kids reading every summer. And that takes me to math. We recently, just 18 months ago, really wanted to do something as well for math that we had done for reading. Math is more of a challenge, and it's actually non-discriminatory. We find, whereas on the summer loss in reading tends to just negatively impact our free and reduced lunch kids, summer loss in math impacts all children. And I think it's fairly intuitive. We don't typically, many of us will sit at home and read to our children or grandchildren before they go to bed, but not many of us sit down and say, let's do 10 math problems tonight before we go to sleep. So it tends to get less attention even among middle and upper income families. So we wanted to build something that would allow parents to interact, because math also can be threatening to parents. And so we don't have this fully developed, but we have it developed for 3 grades, 3 through 6. And what I've summarized here is the math loss over the summer. It's about 2.6 months. And so as many of you who have taught know that often it's R&R when students come back to school. It's review and refresh. And what we're trying to do is help minimize that review and refresh. You can see a picture of what the loss in math looks like on this next graph. This is what happens every summer, and you can see it happens for all students. And so that gap, if we could keep kids learning during the summer and doing math activities. So we tried to build something parent-friendly, and it's a math, what I would call a skills maintenance program. It's not designed to outrun the curriculum. It's based upon the standards that we've reviewed from the states and the Common Core state standards. It's designed for rising 3rd graders through 6th graders. It's 6 weeks in length, and it's an opt-in. It's a daily email, Monday through Friday, that goes to the parent, that gives parents things they can do with their child, real-world applications. We even have Friday fluency days, and the kids can get banners and things like that, which I'll show you on the next slide, I think. Okay, the next slide is an example of an email going to a parent. Again, it's an opt-in, and this is a grade 3, week 1. And it gives them a variety. And again, everything that we point to here has been, we have validated it, we have made sure it's free, we've gone through every check on this. And what we're going to try to do is every year roll out an additional grade. So next year we're going to try to add grade 7, but we're adding a grade a year. And although we don't have it complete, I didn't want perfect to be the enemy of good, so we've rolled this out, and we're getting tremendous responses from parents wanting to make sure we're doing it every year. The next page actually shows you, these are some of the weekly. So if this particular parent, it happens to be, I know these 2 children because the parent works for us at MetaMetrics. And so these are twins. No, these aren't the twins. But anyway, this is Ollie and Josie, and you can click on any week and get a summary of what they've done. You can get a summary of the exercises. You can get a summary of everything they've done each week. And then, as an example of Friday fluency, this was one, and these items are automatically generated over the internet, so the parent doesn't have to do anything but work with their child or give them a computer to work on these. And then the next slide are some of these certificates. The kids seem to really enjoy the certificates that they get. You know, they can get a fraction one, they can get divisions, and so every time they complete these assignments, they get a badge or a banner, if you will, and I've been surprised at how many kids actually want to print out these badges and these awards. Just to summarize, it's an email-based math program. Everything's downloadable. Again, like we've done for reading, we've tried to make this, we realize, probably the only other person on this phone call other than me to have visited all 50 state departments of education is Chris Minnick. And I've been to all 50, and I see the remarkable work that our state departments are doing, but I also know typically you're under-resourced and understaffed to do the initiatives that you have. So we've tried to package this to make it as simple as possible, and everything we've packaged, we've put your logo on it, so North Carolina logo looks different than Kansas, and Kansas from Hawaii. So we've tried to make that very easy for everyone. And so I am now going to turn it over to the person who actually was the first state to have that we worked with, and that's Dr. June Atkinson.
Thank you, Malbert, and thank you so much for supporting all of our efforts to address the loss of summer for many of our children. When I first became state superintendent, I asked Santa Claus to bring me a magic wand that would allow me to change some of traditions in our state that really impede student achievement, such as all of our most vulnerable children especially being off for such a long time during the summer. Santa has never brought me that magic wand. So since he never has, I thought that we would have to have another door open to us as to how that we could address the summer reading loss. So in 2013, the Department of Public Instruction with our partner, MetaMetrics, launched Give 5, Read 5 to fight that summer learning loss. And this initiative asked our parents and our business leaders and members of our communities to donate 5 new or gently used books. And of course, as we tried to sell this across the state, we drew attention to the research from MetaMetrics and Harvard University professor Dr. Jimmy Kim. Malvern has already talked about him, but of course that research showed that reading 5 books over the summer certainly could prevent some summer loss. So as a part of our effort, letters were sent to our parents, our business people, and community leaders. MetaMetrics' generosity provided us with public service announcements, press releases, flyers that promoted the entire event. And we were very pleased that 74 of our elementary schools collected about 124,000 books to send home with students when the 2012-13 school year ended. And so to give you some measure, we said 74 schools, we have approximately 300 elementary schools in our state. So with that, we went through that year and thought, okay, what can we do to get more attention, to get more schools involved, and to have more books? So that is when we launched the 2004 media event called Give 5, Read 5. And again, we used some of our tried and true messages of video PSAs, multiple press releases, letters to businesses. We sent emails to our elementary teachers, to our elementary principals, to our superintendents to say, get on board. And I want to tell you one success story, and it involves a student who is now in her freshman year of college at East Carolina University. Her name is Libby Boze. And during the summer, Libby Boze invited me to meet with her minister and 4 or 5 of her church colleagues, and these were also colleagues at her high school. And she asked what could she do and her team do to promote Give 5, Read 5. If any of you are interested in hiring someone who knows how to organize a team, who knows how to develop enthusiasm for a project, who understands logistics, then call me and I will give you Libby Boze's telephone number. What she did was to get in her community someone to donate warehouse space, because she had a big dream of getting at least 90,000 plus books to give to children in the elementary schools surrounding her. And so to make this long story wonderful short, you will see pictures where all of her team members filled a warehouse of books. And what they did was that they invited all the teachers in kindergarten through grade 3 to come to that warehouse on a Saturday to pick up the books. And as a part of that effort was to have across her community the Give 5, Read 5 sign. And so here you see a picture of her minister, who was integral to this initiative also. And then you see a picture of the warehouse. They had volunteers to go through all of the books, to Lexile the books, and to categorize those so that teachers who were kindergarten who wanted a certain book of a certain Lexile level, that they could go to that table. So you just see some of the activity. And here you see one of the very happy elementary teachers in her community getting the books. And as she was picking up the books, this teacher said, oh, this book would be great for Sally, or I know that Tamika would love this book. And so these teachers, because of having this opportunity, it was like a great holiday for them, a great Christmas for them to have these books to take home. And it was very organized, and I was just in awe with how Libby organized that. So as a result, at the end of last year, 150 schools participated. We had 53 school districts. That is it's approximately half of our students. We collected 277,000 plus books, and so that meant that we doubled the amount of books that we collected during the summer. And so our 2015 campaign is to bring in enough books to double the 2014. So our challenge in North Carolina is to have an increase, and that we want to have our work to also focus on the summer math challenge in North Carolina. So my message is that it's important to get some local champions who will take on the cause, such as a Libby Boze. And it may be a church, it may be a civic organization, it may be a business, it may be someone, a grandmother or a grandfather who is interested in helping children across the state. So I know that 2015 is right around the corner, so our goal and our plea to you is let's have 100% participation in 2015.
And Chris Minnick, we'll turn it back. We will be sending everybody a PowerPoint that registered for this, but we have plenty of time here, and we can take any question. One of the nice things I've had the privilege of doing is being in a lot of the states when we've kicked off these summer reading programs. And in Kansas, I remember we had the Jayhawks and the Manhattan Gorilla, and we did a public library. I remember in Hawaii, they have a program called 808 Books Are Great. And so I've gotten to see a lot of the innovative things that our state chiefs are doing and how they're promoting this reading over the summer. And as I said earlier, I do think it's low-hanging fruit that if we can address this, it really will go a long way to helping us all reach our ultimate goal, which is to have every student college and career ready, and also at the same time help eliminate those achievement gaps that have been so pernicious over the years, and in spite of all the good things we do in school.
Great, thanks, Albert. So we do have a little bit of time for questions or clarifications. We did get a note from, it looks like, Alabama, and thank you for the kind words from what June said. June had some great ideas. I think they're going to incorporate those into what they're doing in Alabama, so appreciate that. If there are other questions, you can either type them in the box. Albert, can they just speak up, or are they on mute? Are folks on mute?
Are they? We will unmute everyone.
Okay, great. So yeah, we got about 25 people on the line. So if anybody's interested in asking some questions, we'll wait and hear if anybody has anything they'd like to say. I will just say that, June, we need employees at CCSSO, so if you can connect us with this young lady that, and above and beyond, I think that would be great. So
we liked her so much, and we wanted to show our appreciation for her really hard work, that we invited her to be an intern in our department for several months during the summer before she went to college. We really want to keep her in North Carolina.
No, that's good. That's good. So since if folks have questions, please do jump in here. I'll ask Malbert. Malbert, you've told me a couple of states you've been to that have done some unique things. Do you want to share maybe the one that's front of mind about what a state did with either a governor or a first lady that would be interesting to the group?
Sure. Down in Florida, we actually did, when they rolled it out, we invited 4th and 5th graders of public school in Florida, and they went to the governor's mansion. The governor's wife, Ann Scott, hosted us, and she had 30 little computer laptops out, and everybody built a reading list while they were there, and they got to have tea with the governor's wife, and she talked about her favorite book and how important reading was to her and her children when she was a parent Kansas, we launched in the Topeka Public Library. The time the commissioner was Diane DeBacker. She brought in the governor as well, and the state librarian, and we brought in the 3 universities, and the universities really took a large part, Kansas State, and Manhattan. In Hawaii, they made public service announcements that are as good as anywhere you'll see in the world with their own students. They actually have Hawaiian students doing public service announcements. They're little PSAs. They're about 30 seconds in duration, but just were outstanding. In Kentucky, we did conferences with principals and librarians. We actually did a public TV show on the PBS statewide TV, where the state librarian, as well as myself and their moderator, did an hour-long show. In North Carolina, June she did a TV show where parents could call in, and parents were able to call in. And I think one of the things, it really helps because parents want to be good parents. Parents want to be engaged, and we need to give them tools and resources that will allow them. It's hard for a parent to know what to do with a Stay9 score or a grade equivalent, but if you say this is a way to connect to books, it's kind of a parent-friendly metric, and it's a great way of, so often our states have to send negative news into a parent's home. It's nice to send in a positive message about reading, and so the parents really resonate to it as well. But in Illinois,
Okay. So, Albert, thanks for that. Are there any questions? Okay, great. Albert, you want to wrap us up and let them know what they're going to get from us? I know we have their email addresses, so we'll be emailing them some information, and then we just hope everybody will be willing to participate this coming summer.
Yeah, sure. We'll follow up with a PowerPoint to everyone and all the any collateral material. If you have any comments or questions, don't hesitate to email us. And as Chris said earlier, and I want to emphasize, we're just trying to help everybody do something during the summer, and we're trying to do it in a kind of to create as least of friction as possible because you have so many things on your plate. But I do think it's something that it really makes a meaningful difference, but it does need to be sustained over time. Announcing it one summer and saying, kind of checking it off the list, you need to make a commitment that you're going to do this over the next 5 years or 6 years, because we have to. I think parents need to hear the message repeated and repeated, and I think our librarians do as well. But we stand ready to serve and help in any way possible, and so if we can help in any way, don't hesitate to email or to call us up.
Very good. Thanks, everybody, for joining today. This will end the webinar, and we look forward to connecting about the summer reading challenge, reading and math challenge now. Thanks. Thanks again, Albert. Appreciate it. And June.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye now.